The choleric. The symbol for cholerics is fire. That's the temperament sign. Fire is hot. Fire burns. And it destroys everything in its wake. These are some of the characteristics of the choleric person. People with this temperament often enjoy leading and dominating whatever individual they are with or whatever group they find themselves in. They like being at the top. They like being looked up to, and they detest being subordinate. So they always look to rise so that they become the leaders and not the subordinates. When you have a subordinate choleric, they need to always be giving tasks or targets. They need to see where the organization or the relationship is going, else they soon get bored and they challenge your authority or they want to move on. The choleric is not good at controlling themselves. By controlling themselves, I mean controlling their emotions. So they can easily get furious or they can easily get excited. And it is easy for you to see when they are furious or when they are excited. They don't hold back their emotions. But let us delve deeper into the choleric temperament by looking at some of the well-known strengths and weaknesses of this temperament. And then we can look at how they function in an office setting. The strengths of the choleric temperament. The choleric is an activist, and by that, what I mean is the cholerics like to press for change, and they do not need much motivation like some other temperaments to indulge themselves in activism. They have fire in their bellies. They're always on the move. They do not easily give up. So when it comes to activism, they are superb when they put their shoulders to the wheel. So if you're an activist and you have a choleric or some cholerics in there, it would help. They would gear up the team. Let's go. Let's do it. We can do this. Yes. No to global warming or whatever it is that your activism is about. Now, the choleric is an opportunist. This is, of course, meant in a positive light because we're talking of strength, in the sense that the choleric is always raring to go, and as such, not very many opportunities pass them by. So, a choleric who has set a target for himself to be, let's say, a CEO of a company, may be a janitor today, but the choleric will take short courses in people management, read books on how to head organizations, work to get relevant certificates, all within a short period. So this way, whenever opportunity strikes, they grab it. So don't expect a choleric to step down from the competition for you to take the lead. They will grab that opportunity with both hands. That's the choleric for you. The cholerics are hard driving or taskmaster, if we may say. They can push you to be the best you can be. So they often appear to people that they are ungrateful. That's because they always expect more from people. If you're in sales, for instance, and you sign 5 clients in a week, the choleric leader will ask you why you couldn't do 7. So trying to please them is often an uphill task. That's because they keep moving targets as you get closer to the goal. So this attribute is often a double-edged sword, as they make for great leaders, but they also appear unfeeling and, as I earlier said, unappreciative. And when staff feel unappreciated, some may react in a negative way and either give up totally or even quit the job. Cholerics are optimistic and confident, and many people see this characteristic of them and they see it as them being stubborn. Yes, the choleric can be stubborn, but it is their optimistic nature that makes them see past the hurdles that many people see. Their target or goals in life sometimes appear overly ambitious. And that's because they hardly look down to see hurdles in their way. No, 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 no. They focus on bulldozing to the finish line. So, due to this disregard for hurdles, they often achieve a lot. Take Steve Jobs, the late Apple founder. Some of his staff share stories of how sometimes they will try to point out challenges with a proposal he has come up with, and how he will bellow at them to go get it done. He didn't care and he wasn't interested in their stories. Eventually, they would return with positive report, and that is what part of what made Apple the brand it is today. Let's call it optimistic perseverance. Now, we say cholerics are perfectionists. So if you want work done and done well, call the choleric. They have this desire to excel. So it makes them focus on the little details that most people will gloss over. So if you're planning an event with a choleric, in the midst of ordering you around and screaming at people, there's this desire to see that everything is successful. They will dot the I's and cross the T's, as we say, because they are perfectionists. Now, we also say that the choleric is friendly, and not many people see this about the choleric, especially since their fiery temper is what often sticks in people's minds. But cholerics can indeed be friendly. Nevertheless, because of their opportunistic nature, they are often friendly with people they see as able to help them achieve their target. So once they have no use for you, you're often nothing to them. So it is common to see cholerics who have few friends. That's because as they move ahead in life, they burn bridges in their drive to reach the top. They're tough-minded because they're fearless. You will not. It is not common to see a choleric break down because he or she failed at a task. Even in the moment of failure, they're already thinking of ways to rise up and get back to the grind. They do respect authority, but they do not fear authority. In some cultures where it is expected that you show some form of reverence or even fear for authority, cholerics come across as disrespectful or insubordinate. But truly, they see no reason why they have to fear, and they probably already eyeing the throne or the stool or whatever it is, the seat. So that's the choleric for you. Finally, cholerics are action oriented. You probably have seen or heard of CEOs who sleep like 3 hours a night and work throughout their waking period. The choleric is like a hunted animal, and it's unable to rest until the hunter is tired. So cholerics want to achieve their target, and they want to achieve it now and not later. The faster they work, the quicker they attain their heights. So, if a choleric, for instance, is pursuing a love interest, chances are he or she will hound the love interest for months, if not years, until they get their loved ones. So, these are some strengths of the choleric temperament. So, let us look at some of the weaknesses or flaws of the choleric temperament. The choleric is quick tempered. I think this is one of the character traits that most people know or are aware of about the choleric. They are quick tempered. That is true. Remember that all the temperaments under discussions have their strengths and weaknesses working together. Or should I say, they complement each other. So, for instance, the reason cholerics are often quick tempered is because they are action oriented and driven, as we had earlier discussed. So, because of this, they struggle to understand why some people are unlike them. They don't see hurdles, remember. And so they get irritated when people inform them of hurdles that prevented them from doing something. If you're a football or soccer fan, you might have heard of Sir Alex Ferguson of Manchester United in England and what they called the hairdryer treatment he gave his team in the dressing room. Aha. So just in case you didn't know about this, Alex Ferguson or the hairdryer treatment, the football players said if they underperformed in a half, he would scream so loud at you, you would feel like someone was holding a hairdryer in your face. So, yes, that is one characteristic or weakness of the choleric temperament. Cholerics are seen as offensive. Again, that's because of their drive in the pursuit of their goals. So they are often not in touch with their emotive side. So they offend people with their scathing comments, their look of disgust or disdain for what the person has done. And so because of that, they often offend people with their actions. Pride is one of the characteristics that often bring many choleric leaders down. Now, they do achieve a lot due to their temperament and their action orientativeness. And because of that, yes, they are proud of the achievements. But this one normally borders on arrogance. And they often see those who have not achieved things similar to them as lazy and or uninterested in progress. So this is one of the things that push people away from them because of their pride, because of their arrogance. Cholerics are also rash decision makers. I once had a boss who I was in sales and he would change the price of the product that we were selling about 3 times in 1 week. He would go home and then in the morning he will have an epiphany. If we put this price at this place at this time, oh, it's going to work. Sometimes too, it's because of what customers have said. I heard a customer say this, or he heard a customer say that, and then that's it. A change has been made. So it is not because there are some temperaments who are undecisive. The choleric is unlike that. It is easy for them to take decisions quickly, and that's why they make for good leaders. Nevertheless, sometimes in their eagerness to get things done, they rush certain decisions, and then it comes back to bite them. So, rash decision making is one of the weaknesses of the choleric temperament. I'd like us to talk about the self-centeredness of the choleric. Now, if you have a choleric friend, you are likely to have noticed that you are like a tool to them. Even if you're a blood relative, they are likely to relate to you based on your usefulness. So look at the choleric like you would look at the Terminator, the movie Terminator franchise, Arnold Schwarzenegger. Yes, look at the choleric in such a way. The aim of the Terminator is to kill Sarah Connor, or in this case, whatever targets the choleric has set. And nothing stood in the Terminator's way but death. That is the choleric. They are only thinking of themselves and how they will get to whatever target or whatever objective they have set for themselves. And they do not mind stabbing friends in the back to reach there. You see, they are rational and logical beings. So they assume their friends would understand the need to hurt them to achieve a goal. So they hurt you and you expect them to, at least come back and say, you know what, I'm sorry, this, that. But they kind of act like, what's the big deal? And that's because they expect you to know that, well, in this situation, what did you expect? So they are the utilitarians, or they are the perfect example of utilitarians in a human. So let us look at the mood swings. The mood swings of the choleric. That's one of their weaknesses. They easily change their moods. 1 minute you'll be laughing all the way with the choleric, then something happens and then quickly their mood changes. Sometimes it could be a comment you made, something you both thought it was a joke. It could also be something he had or she had come across as you walked along the way. Anything, but the person's mood could change immediately. So you often see in the office setting, you would have a boss who would be praising you 1 minute, which they hardly do anyway, and then the next minute you enter his office and he's all in frown, and now you're confused. Is it you? Was it someone else? Should you go and come back later? It's a whole ball game when you are dealing with cholerics and their mood swings. So let us look at the choleric in the office setting. Basically, with what we have discussed, we're going to picture how that would mean they would act in the office setting. Of course, some of the examples we have discussed and some of the things we have said, we used office examples. So let us go to choleric in the office. In the office, the choleric has a natural feel for being in charge. So what this means is it is easy for the choleric to lead. There are some people who shun leadership positions, and that's fine. That's because of their temperament. They are also good for other things. But the choleric is a lover for leadership. So they are often the ones who will go me when the position for leadership springs up. They have a quick sense of what will work and a sincere belief in their personal ability to achieve. In leadership, you need someone who is decisive, who has a quick sense of what will work. So in a moment when you need to decide whether A or B or C should go, or by go I mean if it's a project idea, which one should be implemented. The choleric is the best person you can have in this situation because they are decisive, so they can quickly and immediately take a decision and then move the organization forward. And of course, we've talked about them having self-confidence. And because of their self-confidence, people love following them. They have self-confidence, and which often oozes charisma. So followers love to have a choleric in charge. So sometimes you may find people complain about a choleric, But at the same time, when they are getting a different kind of leader with a different kind of temperament, sometimes they are not too happy because they know that even with the weaknesses of the choleric is pushing them to achieve. The choleric is ensuring that the organization is driving the organization forward. And they like the charisma and the confidence that the choleric has. The choleric, as we have said, is domineering. So in the office setting, you often hear things like, I said this should be done. That is what should be done. My decision is final. Who are you to second guess my commandment or my instructions? So those are some of the comments you hear from a choleric boss. Now, if the choleric is not a boss, but part of for want of a better word, let me say, floor members or the line staff, they still exhibit some of these characteristics, even if, let's say, you are all the same level and you are going to do a presentation to your superior. The choleric would like to be the one doing the presentation. They would want to be seen, so that, of course, in future, if there's any position, they'll be one of the people who will be recommended. So they would push to lead. They will push suggestions. They will, without you probably even realizing, they will take charge of whatever it is that you guys are working on and then lead the drive. They enjoy the company of people who are supportive and cooperate quickly. If you work with a choleric and you often disagree with them, or yes, you do not join their bandwagon quickly, they tag you as enemy of the state. So you often see cholerics coming into battles with people like sanguines. We'll get to sanguines soon. That's because they often do not like to be ordered around. So, or they are also expressive and they like to also share their ideas, which the choleric does not enjoy. So they do not enjoy people who are not supportive of them. They don't like working with people who are lazy and those who are not loyal. Now, to the choleric, if you're loyal, it means, back to what we earlier said, you're supportive and you cooperate quickly. So if you are late to join the idea that the choleric suggested, the choleric will start chalking you down as somebody who is likely to hinder his or her progress. And be ready, because the fire might burn you. So if you're lazy, to the choleric, you're not someone to work with, you're not someone to gel with, because you're going to pull them down, you're going to delay them in reaching their target. So in sum, that is the choleric temperament for you. If you take some time to look at the quiz that was put there, maybe it could help you look at the choleric in other settings to see if you could come up with characteristics or behaviors that the choleric is likely to have displayed in those settings. So let's move to the next chapter where we look at the next temperament.